Hey everyone, Michelle Alexandria coming at you with a quick recap and review of last night's episode of Game of Thrones. And I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here. My hands are just moving. It's actually first thing in the morning. I'm getting ready to go to work, but I'm going to delay leaving because I want to talk about last night's episode real quick. And this is going to be probably like a 5-minute video where it's not a rant video. I thought last night's episode was okay. In a vacuum, it was a decent episode for the final episode series finale of Game of Thrones. I don't know if I liked it or not. I didn't like it because I thought it was well directed, well acted. Every character except Dany ended up in the spot that I kind of wanted them to be. I was always a fan of the Starks, so for the Starks to end up on top, and I don't know why I'm moving my hands so much. But I wanted the Starks to end up on top, and they ended up on top. But the way they got there was so labored and rushed and labored at the same time. My entire problem with this season was actually in that one episode where every joke prediction I made on Facebook actually ended up coming true. I made a joke about Bran being the last one sitting, and he actually became king. And I'm like, what are you people doing? What are you people doing? That was completely unearned for Bran to be the one to become king. That was more the same crap that I've always had, issue that I had with Game of Thrones, where basically they did things just to shock us, not for good story reason or anything else. They would build something up and then swerve you just for the sake of swerving you. That's been the entirety of the entire show. So for fans to suddenly act all shocked and surprised and disgusted that they're not getting what they wanted, welcome to the world of Game of Thrones. And that's one of the reasons why I never particularly liked the show. I watched the first 4 seasons primarily because of the Hound and Arya. I kind of fast forwarded over a lot of the other stuff, political intrigue, BS, all the raping and the vile blood and gore. I just fast forwarded over all of that stuff because I hated the way Game of Thrones treated women. I should have bailed a lot earlier, but I wanted to be part of the conversation, even though I never really talked about the show before. But I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. I just kind of always didn't like Game of Thrones. But I did love Arya and Hound, and that's the reason why I stayed for 4 years. But then when the Hound got killed, I was like, okay, I'm out. And I skipped episode 5, season 5 and 6, and I came back for 7. And then I went back right before season 8 and fast forward, watch season 6, and I got to the Battle of the Bastards and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of cool. But anyway, last night's episode, the problem was the pacing. The entire season's problem was the pacing. Everyone's saying that it needed a few more episodes, but to me, it actually didn't need a few more episodes. It just needed to focus on the right things. And if they were going to have Dany go all mad queen on us, then they should have spent some time planting those seeds. As I've said in my last video, there's a difference between being vino, being all about trying to get the throne and breaking the will and all that kind of stuff, to straight up murdering hundreds of thousands of innocent women and children and not even giving a damn about it. They have never once showed that part of Dany's character. In last night's speech, Tyrion gave to Jon Snow was kind of bullshitty, especially when Tyrion's like, oh, when she killed all those evil men, we all cheered for her, as though that's a bad thing. Killing evil men is a bad thing. And I'm like, what the F are you talking about, Tyrion? She killed evil men. We're supposed to suddenly be crying about her killing evil men? And her suddenly going, oh, she's killing evil men. What's to stop her from killing the innocent? That is a big effing leap. It just is. I fucking hated that speech by Tyrion. And that speech was just BS justification for everything that went on in the previous episode. And so instead of Game of Thrones spending time showing us Dany going down this path, it's just like a light switch flip. She went down this path, And now let's have Tyrion explain why she went down this path and why it's wrong. And I'm like, no, you had 8 episodes, 90 minutes each, to show us that, to show us her point of view of why she's doing this, why she's going down this deep, dark path. They had 6 90-minute episodes. That is the equivalent of 9 episodes, people. That's the equivalent of having 9 episodes, having that much time to tell your story. Instead, you wanted to focus on stupid Varys. You wanted to focus on your Missandra, and you wanted to focus on your Brienne and Jaime Lannister love story, which, while it didn't come out of the blue, ultimately didn't matter to anything. You wanted to focus on you and trying to get into bed with Cersei. Again, nice scenes, but ultimately didn't matter. All you needed to do for Dany was, at the very least, do a flashback to when she was being tortured with the bells way back when. Or over the last 7 seasons, show us 1 or 2 scenes in the last 7 seasons where ringing bells made Dany go momentarily mad. Just show something like that. If you showed me something like that, I would have been fully on board with this. My other problem with the show was they killed her within the first 20 minutes of the show, and then I was left with like 60 minutes of just crap. You didn't even show as much in those 60 minutes. Like, so much for Stark loyalty. Sansa, Arya, Bran, they completely threw Jon under the bus. And that kind of upset me as well. I'm starting to think that I really hated this episode. I'm starting to think I really hated this episode. But the Starks completely threw Jon under the bus because, hey, he's a bastard. He doesn't matter. Let's just send them all to the Night's Watch. And there you go. And for them to just come, and again, they had all that time. They could have shown us, at least shown us the political discussion, and shown the Starks actually fighting for Jon to stay and all this other stuff. Like, I understand, I accept, and I predicted that Jon would actually become a wildling, and he would pet his damn dog. I predicted all of that, but the way they got there was ridiculous, and again, felt rushed when they had plenty of time in the episode to kind of give us a little like 3-minute debate of them figuring out what to do about Jon Snow, showing the back and forth of everything, and how they came to that conclusion. And then I would have been good with that, but to just skip over into like Sansa saying, well, we really tried to fight for you, Jon, but this was the only way. I'm sorry. And I'm just kind of like, I don't believe Sansa fought for Jon for a second. Sansa is kind of like, and why wouldn't Sansa go? Like, I could easily see Sansa going Mad Queen. I'm considering, her history as well. I could easily see her going Mad Queen. She's always been about the throne. She's always been about trying to get power since the very first scene when we introduce her, when she's fighting with Arya and saying she's going to be lady of the house and all this other stuff. But you don't see anyone going around saying Sansa's going to become Mad Queen because it's not Targaryen blood. So, yeah, that kind of stuff just kind of annoyed me about last night's episode. I thought it was well shot, well filmed. That one sequence when Dany is walking in to greet the troops and you see the dragon wings flying, or the scene where Drogon is under the snow and Jon walks right past him and Drogon pops his head up. It's like, what's up? So I thought that was pretty cool. It was nice seeing Drogon melt the Iron Throne, and that was a really nice dramatic scene. But I was sitting there thinking, how does Drogon know the significance of the Iron Throne? So that was my one little quibble with that moment. But I just thought everything felt rushed. And again, Dany went from zero to hero, or hero to zero, in like another span of a split second, because she comes out there, she gives a speech, and then her speech is all about like taking over all the Westeros and going from city to city and doing the same thing, starting with Winterfell. I'm like, wait, what the hell did Winterfell do to you? Just 2 episodes, you were like one of the heroes of Winterfell. All of a sudden you want to go take it over? None of that made sense at all. It was just done to be a bunch of Dany bashing. So in an earlier Facebook post, I predicted almost everything that happened, and I was just joking about it, but I was surprised that it actually did happen the way it did. But when you think back to the way the rest of the season went, of course it went that way. There's not even much to really chew on. Of course, Tyrion ends up in the hand of Bran at the end. Why? I don't know. Because Tyrion gave horrible, wretched advice to Dany just because of plot. But there was no reason for Tyrion to suddenly be that dumb, and then suddenly he's going to get rewarded for it by becoming the hand of someone else. When he was the hand of Joffrey, Joffrey died. He was the hand of Dany, Dany died. Now he's the hand of Bran. Tyrion doesn't have a good track record, so to make him the hand yet again felt stupid. I like seeing Yara again, but when Yara was defending, said she swore fealty to Daenerys. I was like, wait, where were you last episode? I mean, you had your fleet, but you didn't come and help her fight to take King's Landing? Where was that? I thought Brienne's ending was completely sort of unsatisfying when she went and filled out the book and said all these great things that Jaime did. That was kind of whatevs. But like I said, I liked where it all ended, except for Bran. But I don't care about the Iron Throne. I don't even care that Bran ended up on the Iron Throne. I guess that Sansa will become queen, but she became queen of the North. And like I said, I guess that Jon became a wildling, which I actually think was a nice ending for him because he didn't want power. He didn't want power or anything. So if he was to stay in Westeros anyway, people would constantly be on him about taking the throne. So him going off to become a wildling was actually a good end for him. I just wanted it to be his choice and not have it forced upon him and having him exiled. I like the fact that Grey Worm didn't let it go that Jon did kill his queen, but I also thought it was odd that Grey Worm wouldn't have just straight up killed Jon right away, instead of going through all the political maneuverings about Jon's fate. That part didn't seem to fit within Grey Worm's wheelhouse. But you know, they basically just threw Jon in a dungeon somewhere, and at one point the screen went black, and then it came back up on Jon's face, and I thought for sure they were going to do like a time jump to show where everyone was. I think I would have preferred the time jump ending to maybe how they did it, but the time jump ending would have been the same. And Arya went off to go explore adventures past the end of the map, past Westeros, because she wanted to see what else was out there. So that was an interesting end for her character, but she did nothing this episode. And again, that was also the thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit, because it was sort of like, what was the whole point of using her as the POV character in the episode if she was going to end up doing that? Because basically we left last week's episode going, oh crap, Arya's going to end up killing Dany. There's going to be a lot of conflict there. And Arya just kind of stood there in the back and stared at everything as it unfolded. And that's pretty much all she did the entire episode. She did nothing in this episode, even though we wasted a lot of time with Arya last week thinking that, yes, we were going to get something. And I understand why they did it the way they did it, because it was basically Arya decided that revenge wasn't her thing and she just wanted to get out of there. And so we saw her being vulnerable and being scared. So it kind of would have been a little weird to say flip on her badass assassin switch and go after Daenerys again after everything she went through last week, and she promised the Hound that she's going to be no longer all about revenge. So I kind of understand that, but from the same token, it just seemed kind of weird we spent so much time with her. And why am I doing all this stuff with my hands? I don't know. But yeah, it was very interesting the way it worked out. I like the moment with when Tyrion saw Jaime and Cersei under the rubble, and he cried and he was smashing the rocks and everything, blamed himself. Well, yeah, but I'm kind of like, Cersei tried to have you killed. She always hated you, and I mean, families are complicated. I get that. So anyway, but yeah, overall, I don't want to say I was unhappy with the series finale, but I was unhappy with the series finale. I just am not spinning mad about it because the last couple of really bad episodes kind of led us to this point where there's kind of no other way for it to end. But like I said, I was a Stark fan from the beginning, and the other reason why I kind of hated the first 3 or 4 seasons was there were no heroes, and the Starks just couldn't catch a break. But by the end, the Starks ended up ruling everything. They ruled King's Landing. They had the Queen of the North, and Jon's a wildling with Tormund, and he pet his wolf. So there you go. I love the end song, the way the song ended. And I thought it stretched just a little longer. And again, like everything with the season, I thought it stretched. They did that Lord of the Rings ending where it just went too long, where the final shot really should have been Jon becoming a wildling and petting his damn horse, fade to black, move on. But instead, they showed that at the beginning of that montage, and then showed us Arya and Sansa becoming queen, and Arya on the boat heading on her new adventure, and all this other stuff, and then Jon cutting back to Jon leaving the wall and going out with Tormund and the rest of the wildlings and everything else. But him petting the wolf should have been probably like the final shot of the series, and smiling. That would have been better than him just riding out into the wild. And I forgot what the final shot was. Was it Jon or was it Arya? I got to go back and watch the scene, watch the episode again to see that final sequence. But I forgot what the final shot was. I don't think it was of Jon. I think it was maybe Arya riding off on the ocean on a boat, going off on a new adventure. If that's the case, I think it should have been Jon with the wolf, petting the wolf. Goose. So anyway, that's my quick half-baked recap. Last night's episode, Game of Thrones series finale. Let me know what you thought. Please be kind to each other. Be kind to me. So if you comment, be kind. But I would be curious to know what your thoughts are. I don't know. Again, I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to feel about this episode. But it's Game of Thrones.